In this week's episode, we're going to talk about clutter, not necessarily the physical, but really the inner clutter because we're in the third quarter of 2025. And is it time for you to let go of things so you can excel not only this quarter, but beyond? Stay tuned for this week's episode. Hello and welcome to Got Clutter, Get Organized, the conversation. I am excited because we are entering, of course, the third quarter of the year, the second half of the year. And are there things that you just need to allow yourself to let go so you can actually be the person that you are really destined to be, which is why I have an expert. And I'm praying that I say her name right. It's Tigrilla Gardenia.
Great.
And of course, she is here and she's going to talk about just that process of us really, letting go, but also maybe just embracing some things as well. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
So what made you decide to really get into like that life coaching?
Yeah, so it really was a bit of a consequence of my whole plant reawakening. So I started working really closely with plants probably about now 12 years ago at least, if not a little bit more. And as I started to work very closely with plants, I started to see life more as an ecosystem. The idea that we have this internal as well as external space to ourselves in which nothing ever gets quote unquote thrown away, right? And in an ecosystem, everything gets used by somebody. So, what might be waste for one species ends up being food for the other. And in that using of food gets broken down for yet another. And so there's this circular economy, as they call it, that's always going on inside of an ecosystem environment. And I realized that that was really the most beautiful metaphor for life. And when I first started kind of working really closely with plants and started to work towards kind of the idea of, okay, I'm transforming my life yet again, which has been a recurring theme, evolving into the next level of what I am and weaving together much more of who I am. Because I started to realize that business coaching, yeah, okay, so I have a background in high tech and in entrepreneurship and in the arts. And so, yeah, sure, I could, of course, do that. Or, leadership. But then again, that's kind of like people see that as a business thing, even though it's personal leadership. And then I realized that it really is about life, and life with a capital L. The idea of how is it that we create the conditions conducive to life? And that was it. That was like I get it now. If I want to look at my life as a living ecosystem, then it makes sense that as a life coach, I touch all areas of a person's life, because it's not about changing the circumstances around you, but more about how is it that you tend to your own ecosystem.
I love that analogy because, it's interesting. That seems to be like the theme that I'm hearing, like the pivot and things like that. And, my background, I actually have a degree in fashion merchandising.
Mine's in
So
music engineering, so totally
it's like,
understand.
it's like and it's interesting because I think the young man was 18 and I was, doing a little workshop and he was like, "So why are you here?" He said, "I love to know your journey." And I shared with him, I says, "Well, I went what I thought I would love." I says, "But then after working in retail, it's like, well, the long hours, the heavy lifting, the this, the that, and the other." I says, "But when I was put in a room with mess, I just felt like happy." And I said, sometimes we have to discover that. And that's what you're doing. So my next question to you is, why is it so hard for us to either move on or just let go of, you know, those things? And I just wanted to let you know, this is my little baby. I've got
Bluetooth.
I got about like 17 plants here. So
I understand. I feel that way. Just in front of me, they can happen to be all around me, and so therefore people don't necessarily see. They only see a few that are in the back. I'm just like, no, they're all right here, because kind of like a plant, I'm sitting towards the window, which is
hmm
how I
hmm
have to connect. So I think it's really, I was having a really interesting conversation with somebody recently about a topic that was kind of analogous to this, which is the fact that we as human beings, most likely in Western cultures, although pretty much it's unfortunately becoming universal outside of maybe indigenous cultures, we're not really taught to have body awareness. And by body awareness, I don't necessarily just mean like, my shape or things like that. I'm talking more like somatic awareness, right? The understanding that there are multiple minds within me, right? It's the idea that, yes, I have my brain mind, my logical mind, all those pieces. I have my emotional mind. I also have my gut mind, my instincts, and I have all these other sensors that most likely have been shut down. Like I am this fully sensing being, but yet as I'm raised, I'm told, eat at this time, organize your room this way. Here's the way that you're supposed to learn. In Damanhur, where I live, which is one of the largest spiritual communities in the world, we talk about it in the sense of rivers, my rivers that condition me. I'm my river of education. They sort of soften down the lines, but they also sort of give me these rules that I grew up learning the rules rather than understanding how my body reacts to that. And so, unfortunately, that creates a lot of distrust, not just distrust outside of myself, but distrust inside of myself. So, therefore, without that sense of trust, I lean more into fear, which of course then pushes me towards rigid rules. Because when I can't trust anything around me, I know that if I follow this rule, then I'm going to be safe. And so that disconnection means that, that original trauma of separating out from our natural sense of being, from my natural way that my body operates inside of this natural system that is the planet, that is life, that is the world, I then find it really difficult to let go and move forward. Because again, think about just our vocabulary. Our dominant sense as humans is sight. So if you think
Mhm.
about it, in order for me to move forward, I have to see the road ahead. I have to see where I'm going. I have to be able to have a vision for the future. All of these words that we have reinforced our language with, because it means I have to see to believe. I have to do all these different pieces. So, of course, letting go of something or evolving from it has been sort of conditioned out of us. If you even think about it at a species level, we as human beings think anything. So if I look at a plant and I have a beautiful plant that has always put out blue blooms, let's just say, and one day that plant puts out an orange bloom. In my mind, I'm like, wow, how cool, right? Or a leaf that comes out with a completely different shape. I'm just like, oh, that is so amazing. What happened? How did you evolve into that? Right? But if I do something different, or heaven forbid, I'm born with, I don't know, a third leg or something else in my body, my original and first reaction is, oh, something's wrong. That curiosity of, ooh, could this third leg be useful in the evolution of humanity, in the evolution of me as a person, becomes inconceivable. So it makes sense that we're conditioned to stay in place and to be fearful of the world around us because we have no internal, indicators that help us navigate the world. And we don't have the curiosity or the belief that different could be evolutionarily useful in time.
I loved it. And as you were talking about that, I was thinking about just myself. And I've decided that because, like you were saying, sometimes we just move and we just keep moving and we're moving and we're not taking a moment. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take the summer and I'm going to, service my existing clients,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to take a moment just to kind of pause
Mm-hmm.
because I feel in the pause, I will be able to energize myself mentally and physically for whatever is out there for me. Because I said, right now, I feel like, because lately I've been just having like little, muscle pulls and this, that, and the other, because I'm
Yep.
constantly
Those
moving
small
here and there.
indicators.
And I was like, Janet, just pause because you're having those muscle things because you're moving fast because you're trying to get to the next thing. So I love what you're saying. So for someone listening or watching and they're thinking, you know what, she's talking to me. But how do I do it? Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to eating at 6 o'clock. I don't want to eat at a different time. I'm used to doing this on Saturday morning. And but I also saw that over there that maybe I want to do, or I want to just go to a different place, maybe even just to kind of sit and just be, because there's a park down the street, but I've never sat. How do we move towards those things?
Actually, you said it perfectly. It all starts with the pause that allows me to say, could this be different? I often use a really banal example. I know it sounds so weird, but our conditioning is so strong that things like food, you mentioned it, is a great one. Like, when does my body process food better? What would happen if I gave myself even just a week where I said to myself, I'm only going to eat when I'm hungry. And even if my friends invite me out to eat, rather than having, food if I'm not hungry, I'm just going to sit there with a glass of water or even a drink or whatever you feel is best for you. But I'm going to really try to just listen. And at first, it's going to be really uncomfortable because you're going to be like, you wake up and am I hungry? Am I not hungry? For example, I wake up and I mostly have my tea in the morning because I love my tea. But for example, there are days when my stomach growls and I eat something. And there are many days when my stomach doesn't give me any indications that there's hunger until a few hours after I'm awake. And so I don't eat. So those little tiny changes, for example, even I use the example of going to the bathroom. We're taught by our parents how to go to the bathroom: sit down, stand up, hover, hold yourself in this way. And we probably have been doing that our whole life. But is that the most efficient way for my bowels, for my stomach, for my overall health, system? And so play around with it. What happens if I lean a little further back? What happens if I lean a little further front? I mean, get ready to clean things, of course, because you're going to make mistakes. But it sounds so silly, but don't start with the necessarily big, big, super, super scary stuff. Start with the teeny tiny little things that start to open you up. I often tell people that if you're feeling unsafe in those types, take a minute, put your hand maybe on one of the plants in your home and just kind of ask for some guidance, because they have been with us for not just our entire lives, but for 470 million years of life. They got a few things to say and a very present way of being, an awareness, a series of senses that are way beyond the human ones we're used to using. So taking that moment of saying, okay, I'm feeling unsafe, let me ground into a being that has a deep relationship with presence and awareness and sensing and being there and beingness, and just take a beat and just say, okay, what do I need to move forward, type of thing, will really change you. But yeah, take one thing that is a norm, completely a norm for you, and just see what happens when you give it. You might end up eating at the exact same times, but you might find that you don't. Maybe it's half an hour before, half an hour after, or maybe it changes all the time and you just have to listen to your body.
And that's how I was with eating. I would always, and we would eat like at 6 o'clock. But then
Hmm.
I changed because I eat like eating just a little early because a lot of times I don't eat lunch.
Hmm.
But one of the things I really changed, and this may sound silly, was my cleaning routine. Because I was always raised, okay, you get up early Saturday morning, you clean from the front to the back, the top to the. But I didn't want to do that. It was like, I don't want to spend my Saturday cleaning.
Right.
So now I just kind of stretch it over a week.
Hmm.
It's like, I'll spend a little time. I always do the kitchen, so that's not a lot. I'll do my bathroom on this day. Maybe I'll tidy up, but I don't spend an entire Saturday morning doing the cleaning, doing the errands, doing this, that, and the other, like I saw my mother do. And then when I became an adult, I was doing the same thing. So
Right.
you're right. And it just opened me up. It's like, oh, I can enjoy Saturday morning by just kind of lounging, or just a weekend, just lounging in the bed.
Absolutely. And I work a lot with multi-potentialites, so people with lots of passions and that
Hmm.
seem to be all over the map, but trust me, they're not. And I work also with a lot of neurodivergent, and we talk often. Of course, we all swap stories in the course of the work, because what I want them to do is get really comfortable with the idea that the way that when they trust their minds and they trust all these different minds that I was talking about, that they will find their way. So, for example, I sometimes share that if you were to look at me throughout the course of the day, you would probably think I'm neurotic, because anybody who is used to, like you said, doing something from beginning to end, right? I start from the front, I go to the back, then I go from the top to the bottom, and I do it in this way. And I am very systematic, but I'm very systematic in small bursts. And so I might be working on something with a very systematic structure because I'm super, super organized in a lot of ways, but then I'll stop mid sentence and I'll go off and I'll do something else. So like I literally oftentimes will show up at my computer because maybe I got up and got tea. And then when I got up and got tea, I realized that there was dishes. So I washed the dishes, and then, oh, something fell on the floor. And hey, why don't I just clean the floor while I'm here? And then, oh, sitting on the table right next to the floor that I just cleaned is a book. I'm going to read a few pages of the book. And then I'm going to go and then I'm going to sit back down on my computer, and I'll realize that I literally got up mid sentence. So like a word will be halfway written. But the funny part is, I know what that sentence was, and I'll just fill it out. So when I gave myself that permission, and I've gone through multiple experiments with myself where I've just said to myself, okay, I have to clean the house, but I know I'm going to clean it. Like I feel it inside of my bones. I'm going to clean it, but I don't want to, like I said, just spend the entire day where I clean it. And so I realized that I just give myself permission to go about my day, knowing that the intention has been set, that the house is going to be clean. And then I will come to the end of the day and I'll be like, oh, look, I actually cleaned everything. Like I took everything off my desk and I cleaned it, and I took everything off the shelves and I cleaned it. But I can't actually tell you when I did it, because I might have done it, 10 minutes in the morning. And then I went about and I was doing this other thing. Then I went to outside and I was cleaning the balcony because I was moving some of my plant friends around. And then everybody had to get watered because I was already there. And it's about finding the rhythm of your mind and creating, and that's why I talk about that living ecosystem. It's creating the living ecosystem, whatever that might be, that allows your mind to do within that playground, that within that area that you've created, whatever is necessary, but that the external visibility to somebody else looks like whatever it is that they need it to look like. So people look at me and they're like, how are you so productive? And it's just like, because I allow my mind to work the way my minds need to work. And so you cannot regulate, like I can't do the whole Pomodoro or any of these other things, these time blocking. I've tried to do it. I suck at it because that's just not how I work. I work in bursts. And throughout the course of the day, I have different moments when different types of bursts. So when it goes to organization, I tell my clients, you can have multiple systems that work for you. Like I have some things that I do. So if you look at my desk, there is some things that are on paper. If you look at my Google Calendar, it has a lot of detail in it. I have a document that's open right now that is kind of a running list. Like I have certain things that my mind needs to be tactile, and other things that my mind needs to have digitally present in a way that I can enter into it. But I can't have clutter anywhere. So all of those spaces are perfectly organized, but within themselves.
And I can truly relate because I tell people when they start thinking about the big projects, maybe the closet, I say, you don't have to organize the entire closet in one
Right.
weekend. I said, sometimes I just start by going through, okay, I'm not wearing that. I'm not wearing that. That doesn't fit. And I'm done. And then
Exactly.
I says, I know the end goal is to organize a closet, but I don't necessarily have to do it in one day or a weekend.
Yep. They're
You,
iterations.
yeah. And
They're
that's,
trusting the idea that all of the natural world runs on cycles, right? And seasonality and cycles and moving through, which means we don't have to worry about like getting it done and being done. My house, from the moment that I finish cleaning it, the place that I first started is already dirty. Like,
that's
and
true.
that's okay. That's part of how life goes. And so if I was to just think, oh, I want to be able to sit down and my entire house is completely clean, forget it, man. I would drive myself nuts.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true. I have truly enjoyed this conversation. I mean, of course, I'm always love talking to a fellow plant lover, but also fellow person who is organized. So, how can people just connect with you? Because I know you've got podcasts and you've got so many other things going on. So, please let them know how they connect with you.
Yeah, the central point is, of course, my website. That's the place where you will find everything, which is luckily my name, tigrillagardenia.com. And you can find me on everything with that same name. So whether it's, YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, it's all at Tigrilla Gardenia, one word, all together. And so that's the easiest way. I do have a podcast. So the other thing is being a multi-potentialite. I have lots of different ways people can connect in with me. You know, if you like the visual, come to YouTube. If you like the sound, go to the podcast on, you know, your favorite podcast app. If you like written words, come over here and do this. And if you like art and more experiential things, then I have an online community space called the Naturally Conscious Community that you're more than welcome to join. And we have all kinds of different activities that we do there and conversations because, you know, we want to encourage, like I said, the way for you to process all that you're experiencing and creating all these conditions for your life in whatever way feels right for you. And so the Naturally Conscious Community gives us an opportunity to do, you know, a little bit of writing over here and a little bit of art over here and a little bit of like, let's read in the book club and then, ooh, let's do a lecture and, oh, a meditation and here a discussion. And so we have a little bit of everything. It's very much a playground for multi-potentialites that want to feel truly natural.
And that's nice because I think some of us, I mean, some people are good at just sticking to one thing and doing that for the rest of their life. And, you know, and that's their gift and their calling. But there's also the space for people who, like you said, we just do multiple things and we
Exactly.
enjoy everything. And it's
Mm-hmm.
great that you created a space for that. So, of course, you know, I will have all of her contact information on the show page. So please be sure to connect with her. And to Tigrilla, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank
It is
you.
so appreciated.
Thank you so much. It's been great being here.